Coming up on Michigan Replay, Iowa spoils homecoming for Michigan as the Hawks surprise the Wolverines at the Big House. We'll have highlights. We'll also meet the guy who said no to Harvard Law School and yes to long snaps at Michigan. And we'll look ahead and scout the always tough and dangerous Spartans of Michigan State as we scout the Wolverines' next game. All that and more coming up next. Michigan Replay with Lloyd Carr is brought to you in part by The Joy of Pepsi and by Big Boy Restaurants, home of the original Big Boy double-decker hamburger. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Michigan Replay. Not the show we expected after a homecoming game. 34-9 Iowa beats Michigan in Ann Arbor, and Lloyd, this was one that didn't expect it to go, but a couple of big turnovers, a couple of big plays here and there really gave momentum to Iowa.
Well, Jim, it was a hard-fought ball game for 2.5 quarters. We had hung in there, even though we didn't play very well on offense. We didn't play well on offense in the first half. But at 10-9, we fumbled a punt, and from then on, it was downhill for us. But offensively, we just 5 out of 15 on third down. We just didn't sustain anything all day long.
And that was really the key. If you look at the game, it was offensively not able to sustain drives, which put your defense out on the field for way too long, and then they couldn't get themselves off.
Well, eventually our defense wore down, and that's what happens against a big, strong, physical team like Iowa. But we just, when we did have some momentum, we scored on the first drive of the second half and had 10-9, had some momentum, and then the turnover, and we never changed the momentum back.
One of the things you talked about, too, was that their first 2 possessions, they went on long drives.
Well, Iowa started off, first play of the game, hit the little bootleg pass to Dallas Clark for 9 yards, and they did a good job mixing the run and the pass. Here the quarterback draw, and Banks is a guy that you know, is a good athlete, and he made some plays, particularly in these first 2 drives.
You did a nice job on their running back, Russell.
Well, Carl Diggs makes a big hit there, and we held Russell to 28 yards and 22 carries, so we did some very good things in there early.
Then they get the wide receiver screen, and you just can't catch up.
Well, we missed a tackle there, and it's a play that we've seen a lot of. But it's a big play, something that has plagued us at times, and so they come in and take the first drive and go ahead 7-0.
And then you come back on your first possession, 3rd and long, and you get a good play out of Navarre and Edwards.
Well, we had bad field position because we didn't get very much out of the end zone on the kickoff return, but and John got hit and got the wind knocked out of him. Spencer Brenton came in and hit BJ for a screen and another first down, and we have had some decent moves here, but our field position is so bad. And then Adam Finley, who was tremendous again, punted extremely well throughout the day and really gave our defense great field position.
Yeah, your punting game was great, but again, the defense couldn't kind of take advantage of it.
Well, Iowa gets the ball and again goes on a drive. They run the quarterback draw on there. We miss a couple of tackles, and you know, that's something that, you know, it kills the defense. You've got to be a good tackling team, and in that drive, we certainly weren't.
And they run down here inside the 1, and this is where your defense really shines.
Well, I thought this was really one of the big plays of the game. On first down and goal from inside the 1, we throw them for a 2-yard loss. And we eventually, on the next 2 downs, keep them out of the end zone and hold them to a field goal. And after being first down and goal on the 1, that's a good stop.
It is, and at this point, it's 10-0, and really, they've moved the ball well. You're fortunate to be 10-0, and then you start coming back on it.
Well, from this point forward, Jim, we still we hit some passes, but we really we don't sustain anything. But our defense continues to play well throughout the rest of the first half. And then here John hits Benny Jopru on a first down. We did get a few first downs, but ended up punting the ball away.
And this is one of those mistakes that could have been a momentum changer.
This was one of the those plays, you know, we knew we were going to have an opportunity to get behind them for a couple of times, and we just couldn't come up with a big play there.
They make the mistake now, fumbling their punt. You get a turnover on downs, and now you're in great position.
Well, Jim, Sean Sanderson over the left side here gets a block on the linebacker, and Chris gets in. And so after the way we played offensively, we're happy to go in there at 10-6. We missed the extra point, and but if we can just put some things together offensively, we feel like we were right in the ball.
Right, so coming out at halftime, even though you're down 10-6, you're thinking, you know, we haven't played very well, and we're still in this thing. You know, now we got a chance second half to put it back together.
Well, absolutely, and our defense, I thought, was hitting hard in that second quarter and getting us the ball back. And, you know, we felt like we'd come out in the second half and put some points on the board, then we'd go into the fourth quarter and have a chance to win.
All right, when we come back, we'll come back and take a look at the second half. Before we do that, though, we'll hear from Norman Hoyer. Says, really, there's no mystery to what happened in that Iowa game.
They're a good team. They earned it. You know, they came out and they played hard, and we got to give them all the credit in the world. We just didn't come out and win today. Come out and play.
Now, the Les Stanford Chevrolet locker room report.
It's good to always get the first one out of the way and under your belt, so that is, I guess, somewhat of a bright spot for us.
In the second half, the Wolverines down just by 10-6. You get the ball beginning of the second half, and like you said before we went to the break, you had to feel good about your chances, and you put a decent drive together.
Well, Jim, you know, I'm sure you've been in a lot of football games where you don't play well in the first half, and yet you're still in the game, so you feel like, hey, let's go out, let's get the ball, let's take it down, let's get points on the board, and now have a chance to win the football game.
And this is your first possession. On 3rd and 10, you get a pass to Benny Jeffrey.
Well, Benny beat man coverage here, the linebacker, the nickel back, and for a first down.
Then you get a big run on John Navarre. And again, this is a good decision by John, running over there against man coverage.
Well, and everybody's cleared out chasing their men, and then we get the ball down to about the 26-yard line, but got called for holding, and that sets us back some.
On a 2nd and 10, though, you come back and get a nice completion to Braylon Edwards.
Well, we stall here, Jim, and Adams Finley, who this week in practice did a great job, and he's going to handle our field goal kicking now and hits one, which is a big kick here. And now it's 10-9. The crowd's into the game,
and really we come to the point where it turns around because Iowa gets the ball back on a 3rd and long, and you stop them and force them to punt.
Well, Banks scrambles out here, and Victor Hobson comes up, makes a good play, and now we're going to have good field position and a chance to return a punt and get the ball back up the field some. But we mishandled a punt here, and Iowa recovers the football and go right in, and now our defense from here on had a hard time getting them stopped.
And then again, you want to talk about turnarounds. This turnover was a turnaround because here they come back with a slant cut. They get the touchdown and go ahead 17-9. That really changes the whole complexion of the game.
Well, it shouldn't, but you know, it did, and you've got to find a way, particularly at home, to get the momentum change back. But here on a 3rd down, they run the option, and we don't defend it very well. And they're driving, and we're from here on out, we have a real hard time tackling and getting them. Here we on a cutback play.
You can see the defense getting tired.
Yeah.
They're a little gassed.
Yeah, they are, and yet that play should have been made for no gain. We got up the field on the backside there, and here's missed tackling, and this Lewis kid came in and gained 100 yards on us. Mostly in the late 3rd and 4th quarter.
Right, you did a great job on Russell, but then this Lewis guy comes in there, and really, he looks like the big-time back for Iowa.
He certainly did on Saturday.
And then their final touchdown score was really a good call. You even said it's a little shovel pass.
Well, they sprint the quarterback out, draw the end upfield, and shuffle the ball underneath, and Lewis runs through a tackle, an arm tackle there, 31-9.
Yeah, they had a field goal, make it a 34-9 final. But one of the things about this game, and I don't know whether you know all of the details yet. Cato June was hurt in the game. Any information on Cato?
Well, the preliminary report is very positive. So, but I don't know anything specific. But it sounds like he's going to be fine.
Okay, and that's one of the things talking about after this game as you go forward. There's some injury problems that you're undergoing right now after this Iowa game. Denny Rumashek came out, looked like he was limping a little bit.
Well, we've got a lot of guys banged up, Jim, and you know what we've got to do is find a way to get ready to play another big football game next Saturday.
Coming out of this game, you know, I mean, how much did you learn, and where do you need to get, you know, the things that you need to do to correct to get this team back to where you think they should be?
Well, I think first of all, offensively, we've got to be able to run the football some, and I give Iowa a lot of credit, but certainly we've got to catch the football better. We did not pass protect well at all against a good football team, a good front four, but John didn't have enough time to throw, and then we dropped too many balls, Jim, and when you keep going punting the football down to a good offensive football team, eventually your defense is going to wear down.
And regarding your game plan, you thought Terry Malone did the right thing because they were lined up, really crowding the line of scrimmage of their linebackers, and you were really going with the pass to set up the run early in the game.
Well, that's exactly what our game plan was, and we thought we could spread them out. We thought that they would have bad mismatch. We thought we had a good mismatch with Joprue and our crossing receivers, but we just didn't have any consistency. And on third down, Jim, you can't be 33% and have a chance to win.
All right. That's what happened in the game against Iowa on Saturday. When we come back, we'll meet Joe Scroy. He's a great story in collegiate football at the University of Michigan. Before we do that, we hear from offensive lineman Tony Pape talking about the troubles on offense for the Wolverines.
And it's tough stretch trying to get the ball moving, and you know, it hurts us when you become a one-dimensional offense. You know, they know what you're going to do, so it's difficult.
Meet Joe Scroy, everybody. He's Michigan's long snapper on placement kicks and punts. He's currently in his first year at Michigan Law School. That's pretty impressive in itself. But how about this? Joe turned down an acceptance to Harvard Law School so he could stay at Michigan and play another year of football while attending Michigan Law School. Talk about a tough decision. Well, tough for some, but not for Joe Scroy.
I wouldn't say that I wouldn't have made that decision anyways if it weren't for playing football. Michigan was one of my first choices. It was, you know, it was up there at the top regardless of football. It's a great school. I like the area. I like Ann Arbor. I'm from very close to here, and I plan on living in Southeast Michigan the rest of my life. So, I mean, those are all things that are pushing me this way anyways. On top of that, the opportunity to play another season when Coach Carr came to me with that idea, you know, it makes it all worth it.
As you can see, Joe Scroy is a special young man. He loves a challenge as an athlete and as a student. Think about it. A full first-year law school schedule, plus football, meetings, practice, travel. Would it be too much? Scroy thought so, but not for long.
And I thought, you know, there's no way I can go to law school and play football at the same time. But the more I thought about it, and the more we talked, and Coach Carr right away said, we'll do, you know, we'll help you out. We'll do what we need to do to be able to maintain academics and be at football and get everything done at the same time.
Ask any coach. A good long snapper is worth his weight in gold, and Scroy is good. It's only when he makes a mistake does he get noticed. Don't forget, Phil Brabb's game winner against Washington started with Joe Scroy. He's really the model for what intercollegiate athletics is all about. The only time his choice of Michigan and football over Harvard comes into question is when he makes a rare errant snap. That's when Coach Carr becomes a Chief Justice.
He likes to use it now to give me a hard time about it more than anything else. First thing I can remember him saying was probably on a day when I had a bad snap or something like that, him telling me that if I do that again, he's going to ship me out and I can head out to Boston.
I don't think Lloyd Carr's going to ship him out to Boston. That's Great story about a young man. Harvard Law School says, "Now I'm going to play another year at Michigan."
Well, he's going to be a great success. I know that, Jim.
You remember
we haven't heard the last of Joe Scroy.
No, we haven't. You remember Kenny Higgins is like that. Well, you remember Kenny Higgins played years ago?
Yep.
He had an offer to go to Harvard Law School and took it.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
And Joe decided to stay here. And you love long snappers. I mean,
well, they're critical.
They are. When you don't have one, that's what you talk about Jeremy Miller all the time.
Well, and you know, Joe was a linebacker in high school, and when he came to Michigan he came on as a non-scholarship player, and he ended up down in the demonstration team as a linebacker. I mean, he's a tough guy, competitive guy, and then kind of worked at long snapping. The next thing you know, he's our starter.
And you'll probably have him as legal counsel one of these days.
I hope I don't need it, but if I do, I'll go to Scroy.
Absolutely. When we come back, we'll look ahead and scout the Michigan State Spartans. But first, we hear from Victor Hobson talking about you can't dwell on Iowa too long.
They were a good team, and they came out victorious. We didn't play like we wanted to, and of course we didn't win. So that's one of our goals, just to win, pretty much. So we didn't win today, so we got to figure what we did wrong, watch the film, and move on to Michigan State.
Now, the Les Stanford Chevrolet Locker Room Report.
It's a big game for both teams. We got to come out there, and hopefully we can exploit Michigan State's weaknesses and come out with a victory.
Cheers.
Welcome back. The Wolverines can't dwell too much on the loss to Iowa because it's Michigan State, and that's one of the big games every year, the state's rights game. And their team that comes into Ann Arbor hurting a little bit, and they're dangerous.
Well, Jim, you know, there's a month of football left. There's 4 games for us, and certainly this game has always been, you know, a special rivalry and a game that's important to both teams. So regardless of where you are, you have to get prepared to play, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to do the things you want to do.
And one of the things about Michigan State, as we take a look at their highlights in the scouting report, is the fact that Jeff Smoker, the quarterback for Michigan State, was suspended indefinitely last week. We don't know how long that suspension is going to go, but certainly he has some talent, and this guy, Charles Rogers, is maybe the best player wide receiver in the country.
Well, Jim, I'm sure he's going to be, if he decides to leave, he'll be the first receiver drafted, a guy that's got tremendous ability.
And Damon Dowdell might be the quarterback you have to see.
Well, Dowdell is a guy that's a great athlete and a guy that can make a lot of things happen, both from the option standpoint, the scrambling, and he's a good thrower.
Duane Moss is their big running back. And on defense, typically Michigan State, strong defensive team. Clifford Dukes is their leader in sacks at defensive end, and their middle linebacker, Mike Labinjo, makes a lot of plays.
Well, they're an athletic front. Labinjo's a returning starter and a guy that is a very, very physical football player.
And Thomas Wright is their big player in the secondary. Makes a lot of plays back there, leading tackler.
Yes, he does. He's a very aggressive, hard-hitting, typical strong safety type guy that will knock the ball loose.
When you look at this game coming up, you're obviously coming off the loss to Iowa. From your perspective, how do you get your team prepared, and where do you work against this Michigan State team?
Well, hopefully, Jim, they understand. I mean, they know what this game is all about. But the thing that we have to do is we've got to find out, based on the film study, that the things that we need to correct. Certainly, when you look at that game, when you look at the second half, there's a lot of things in terms of being a better run defensive team. We certainly have to protect the passer, but we've got to get back to where we can take some time off the clock and run the football.
That's the thing, I think, that if anybody would, you know, been surprised at the statistics at Saturdays, the inability of you guys to really mount any kind of a running attack.
Jim, I don't care who you're playing. If you only run for 22 yards, you can't win. You can't win against good football teams, and that's the bottom line, I think, for us.
And defensively, you've got to get maybe some new kids in the game because of the injuries, which seem to have hit you more on the defensive side than the offensive side.
Well, we've been hit on both sides, but certainly our defensive guys are going to have to they're going to have to come together and come up with a great effort, because we are missing some guys, and when you miss guys, what you got to do is play harder and of course, we're at a point in the season where, you know, fatigue and all those things, and so mentally, you've got to get ready for a great effort.
You got to be mentally tough enough
Yes,
to
you
put
do.
all of that stuff behind you that happened against Iowa and move forward.
Well, that's the big challenge because you come off a very, very disappointing loss. I don't think anybody, you know, is going to be feeling sorry for Michigan. That's just not the way it works. So, and there'll be a lot of the critics out there. So, you know, as a football team, you got to stay focused on what you're trying to get done and trying to get better.
Yeah, there are two things I think that if I said this, you'll say absolutely. Defense, get off the field quicker. Offense, stay on the field longer.
Well, that's a formula for success, Jim.
That's the formula for success. You need to do it against State and stop big plays, maybe. That's the other thing.
Well, you know, we've been relatively good with that the last 3 or 4 games. Except you know, on Saturday we gave up the flanker screen, but and then we didn't tackle with a scramble quarterback, and sometimes that's due to his ability, but we've got to be a better tackling football team.
We'll see if it happens next week. Michigan versus Michigan State. You won't want to miss it right here on Michigan Replay. Michigan Replay has been brought to you in part by Abso Pure Water, delivering quality bottled water since 1908, and by Nike,